I'm Bree.
And I'm Hannah.
We met through our shared obsession with romance and fantasy novels.
And honestly, we haven't stopped talking about books since.
Each week, we're sharing what we're reading, sharing our opinions,
and spilling all the tea about our lives.
So whether you're here for book recs, hot takes, or you just want to hang out with us for a bit,
you're in the right place. We're also talking about life, sharing our highs and lows,
and having the kind of conversations we'd have over margaritas.
Welcome to Chapter Chats. Hi guys, welcome to this week of Chapter Chats.
Today, we're going to be letting you guys get to know us a little. After a couple episodes of talking other things, now we thought you might want to know all about who we are, your hosts. So we're doing a little compare and contrast of all kinds of different things about us.
We really just like talking about ourselves is what this comes down to. So some of this will be bookish, some of this will not be as bookish because I feel like Bree, not so much, but I listen to a ton of podcasts and some of my favorite episodes are when you actually get to know the behind the scenes and not just the book stuff. So if that's not your bag, feel free to pop in on our next episode. But if it is, there will probably be a lot of personal information revealed on here since we're not very private people with each other.
Let's start with our highs and lows. So my high, I have finished all of my holiday and post-holiday shopping for birthdays, i.e. Hannah's birthday, and I have mailed all those out and got them all wrapped. And so that was my high of the week, having that done.
I so cannot relate to that at all. I'm like the person that's gift shopping on like Christmas Eve. I was done 3 days early last year, and that was a big deal for me.
Okay. What's your high?
My high, so I'm kind of a freak about New Year's and like planning goals and stuff, which I think we'll talk about a little bit, probably in the compare and contrast of it all. But anyway, I did kind of my like major goal planning session, not with anybody else. I'm not like doing it with a coach or my husband or anything. So hopefully he's on board for what I've decided for us for 2026. But I did that over this past week, which I think I really like the like anticipation of things. So it got me in a good mood and really excited for the new year. I'm still really excited for, the rest of this year, I guess. But I feel like clean slate, fresh start is always an exciting time for me. So my mood is pretty high.
She just loves the feeling of a freshly filled out planner.
I do. I actually haven't filled out my planner yet. This is all just like general organization. I really need to get my book journal all set up for the new year too, because it's not done yet.
Yeah, I always want to do I always want to do a book journal, but I feel like I have terrible handwriting and I'm just not organized enough to stay on top of the book journal. So I just do Goodreads instead.
My goal, I think, will be to update it like once a month on like the minimum. And if it's going to be more than that, that's fine. But like that way, I feel like I'll be better at it in like big chunks than trying to be like, let me fill out my page every time I finish a book, because that's like
way too
not realistic. Yeah. Okay, why don't you tell us about your low?
Yeah, my low is just stress. I've had a lot of family things, a lot of holiday stress, a lot of work stress, and yeah, it's been a low way down there.
I'm sorry. I say as if like I don't know all of that. My low is similar. I think this time of year, as we're approaching kind of the end of the year, is always just really busy with family holidays and stuff that happens with that. And so I'm also kind of excited for the new year just to like be back in my routine, so to speak, and slow down a little, because I feel like I have not slowed down in quite some time.
Yeah, it just feels like you're going 100 miles per hour, no brakes right now. And it'll be nice to like reset and start over.
And I think the holidays when you're a kid are just so fun because you don't have any responsibilities. You're off school. Like you're just getting to kind of bop around doing whatever. And as an adult, it's like you really don't get any of that because it's a lot of like coordinating things and making sure tasks and like whatever are checked off. And I get burnt out on like traveling because I feel like we're like driving around everywhere during the holidays. And all of both sets of my in-laws and then my parents are all within like an hour-ish. But like because they're so close, they want to see us like multiple times anytime we have like days off. And it just is a lot. So I feel really like selfish saying that that's a low because obviously I'm very blessed to have family close by and all that, but it does.
But it's still a lot.
Great sometimes, yes.
My leg got stuck on my stepladder just now. Okay, now we get to do recent reads. Okay, my recent read is the same as Hannah's, I think, and it's because we both finished Morningstar, and I will never be the same ever again.
Yeah, my recent read was also Morningstar. I literally finished it maybe an hour before we hopped on to record this, and Brie finished it right after. So I don't know. I feel like it just kind of emotionally wrecks you. It's not a bad ending. It's just like I feel very emotionally drained.
Well,
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
I do think I'm gonna take a
No,
break
for
from the
real.
series for a bit because I feel like that was a very like natural good ending for me for now because I have a lot of other books I want to get to. And also selfishly, I don't want to put every single Red Rising book in my top 10 of the year. So, and I'm already gonna have two, so I kind of want to push them to at least January. But
I know, I was gonna cheat and put all of them.
that's not
I
okay.
But I knew you would get mad at me. I was like, I could just put the Red Rising trilogy. But Hannah's a stickler for top tens.
And we're
But
doing a whole, well, it will have already come out by the time you're listening to this, but we're doing an entire episode on top 10. So it has to like, we have to have some parameters here.
I'll do top 10 plus
How would you like rank them out of the three we've read?
out of the three we've read. I don't, it's really hard because I loved Golden Sun so much. And I know you didn't like it as much. I feel like, I mean, you still really liked it, but you said it was like a 4-star until like the ending, right? Or am I
Yeah. And
misremembering
I
that?
ended up, no, exactly right. I still gave it 5 stars. I do think right now I go Morning Star, then Red Rising, and that's probably my least favorite, but it's I don't feel like it like is worse than the others. I think there's just a lot
Yeah.
of world building, character development, plot. Like it makes sense that it has to be somewhere and we can't just have like endless twists and the series done. You know what I mean? Like something's got to.
Yeah. And I think for me, I loved that world building and character development so much. I don't think it beats Morningstar for me, but it's very close. Which I gave them all 5 stars, just like you did. So it's like they're all amazing. But I think for me, it probably goes Morningstar, Golden Sun, Red Rising. But it's,
Yeah,
Morningstar and Golden Sun are very close.
that's fair. And I think it was a sad ending, Golden Sun, and so that kind of I feel like I don't do as well when like the end feels like unresolved or like
Hmm.
sour in some way, and that was 100% the case for this ending. So, I didn't even know if one of my favorite characters like survived, and they did, so it ended up being fine, but like not saying who obviously for spoiler reasons, but
And I loved that devastation. Give it to me.
I think Morning Star's probably my favorite book of the year.
I think it's probably mine too. It's definitely, I'm gonna ruminate on it because it's really close, but I think it might edge it out.
I was doing my like top 10 so far list just mentally this morning, and I think I have, yeah, Morning Star. I've read Rising on there, and then I have two other books I read in November. So November was like a very good reading month for me overall.
Hmm.
Obviously, now we're not in November, so Morning Star's not part of that. But like, really, you got to hold out till the end of the year because I've had years where like my top book is in January, and I've been like legitimately concerned that I'm like not gonna have any other reads that like hit me the same way,
Yeah,
and then it's like December 29th, and I'm like, oh, I do still
whatever.
like books, yeah.
No, I totally agree.
Okay, should we get into like our main topic?
Let's do it.
Which, like Bree said, this is kind of, we called it like compare and contrast, but it's really just us talking about ourselves in like various different categories. So I think we're just going to kind of jump into some like basics about like what life looks like for us right now, because you've kind of been hearing or watching us, if you're watching this on YouTube, us really just talk about books up until now. So why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about where you live, Bree.
Yeah, so I live in Oklahoma, and I know everyone's gonna be like, ew, gross. Guess what? I love it. I love being in Oklahoma. I love where I live. I live in Oklahoma City. I'm not gonna say anything else because there's creepers out there.
Why don't you give
So,
us your address? Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you. But yeah, I love Oklahoma. I am right in the city, and I love being really in the center of the United States because I can go most places within a day. So I get to travel and visit a lot of things, and I love that.
Have you always lived in Oklahoma City?
Well, no, that's probably an interesting story I should share with people. No, I have not. I was actually born in California, in Southern California. Well, Southern Central, I guess, more like
Central
it.
Valley.
And yeah, Central Valley, so obviously not Southern Central. Anyway, I lived there for like the first 2 years of my life, and then my family moved back to Kentucky, which is where my dad's family is from. And I lived there my entire life till I was 18. And then I moved to Oklahoma for college, which is where my mom's family's from. And I lived there for 4 years. And then I moved to Virginia for law school. And I lived in Virginia for 3 years. And then after I graduated law school, I moved back to Oklahoma and convinced my whole nuclear family to move here. And now we're all in Oklahoma again. So I've lived a lot of places.
Yeah, I feel like you've had more home bases than like most people I know. I feel like college is like the standard. I moved out and went somewhere else, but you've kind of
Mhm.
hopped all over the place. And not everyone has law school to talk about, obviously. So there's
Yeah.
that. Sorry, I interrupted. You were gonna say.
Yeah, I feel like it's really cool, and it's something that I am definitely grateful that I've got to travel and live so many different places and have a lot of life experience like that.
I currently live in a kind of suburby town outside of Sacramento, California, which is in Northern California, if you didn't know that. I've lived in California in like various locations for pretty much my entire life. I was born in Montana, but I did not stay there for longer than like 2 weeks. So I don't know that you can count that. um, and yeah, I live here with, well, I guess we'll get into this later, but yeah, I'm in Sacramento and I've been here since law school started. So 2018. So it's been about 7 years, a little over seven
Wow.
years. I know that's crazy to think about.
No, I was like, I always forget that we even though we're the same age, you went to law school before I did. And so, like, looking at the timelines and everything, it's just crazy.
And I think you even graduated before I did or after I did. From what was
I
your
graduated
undergrad
I
class?
graduated undergrad in December 2018.
December 2018. Okay, so we're both
Yeah, because
class
I
of
finished in
2018.
3.5 years.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I finished in 3.5 years. That sounds right.
Yeah. So I did a standard 4-year undergrad. So I was spring of 2018, and then I went directly into law school. So, but I did an accelerated law school program, so I was out in 2.5 years. So I graduated December of 2020.
Which is
Yeah.
the year I started.
So we're parallel lives here.
Who knew we were so close?
Okay, tell us about your pets or
I
pet.
have one, yeah, my pet. I have one sweet dog named Bruno. He is a Corgi Lab mix, which is as funny shaped as you would think it is. And he is a grumpy old man, and I love him.
He's very cute.
He's a
I
mess.
also have a dog. His name is Captain. I don't know that we should put like pictures of them up maybe so the people watching can see. He looks kind of Australian Shepherdy, but he is
Hmm.
mostly, we had to go get like a DNA test on him to figure out what he is. He's mostly Canadian Eskimo dog, which was not a breed that I knew existed prior to this genetic testing. And he's also part like Staffordshire Terrier, which they look kind of like pit bulls. So that's where he's got kind of like a fat head and like a like you know how shepherds have like longer skinny snouts. Like
Yeah.
his is like kind of big, like substantial. He's kind of like a brick, honestly. But
He is like a brick.
you
He's
know what
got
I
the
mean though? Like
softest
he's
head.
sturdy. Like he's a
Yeah.
which is kind of Staffordshire pit vibes. So yeah, he's a ham. He's kind of our
But his
third
head,
podcaster. He's just silent and off to the side.
I was like, his head is the softest head I've ever felt. It's just his fur is so delicate.
He's also, yeah, he's part husky. So he's definitely like, he's got the fur to be a snow dog. And so he's really, really
Uh-huh.
fluffy. Like most of his mass is just fur. And he looks like a raccoon when he's wet because it's all like plastered to him. Anyway, that's Captain. How
He's
about
the
your
cutest.
family? Tell us about them.
Yeah, so I am the eldest child, which you will probably be able to interpret as we go along with things that I do and say. And I have a mom and a dad, and I'm really close with them. And then I have one younger brother. He's 5 years younger than me. He is married to my sister-in-law. They've been married for a little over a year now, and they just had their first baby. So I'm also an aunt, and I love being an aunt. It's so fun.
I love that. The middle child, which I feel like comes out in like weird ways.
Hmm.
But I have also a mom and a dad and an older sister. She's 5 years older than me. And then I have a younger brother who's 9 years younger than me. And I'm the only one that's moved out. So they all still live together. They're about 8 minutes away from me now. They moved up here not super long ago. So it's been interesting having them here instead of, they used to be like a 3 hour drive ish away from Sacramento. So closer to like the Bay Area, if anyone knows California geography. And yeah, that's my family. Nobody's got kids or anything like that. So
Yet.
I can't add auntie to my resume or mom or anything, but someday, perhaps. Oh, and then I'm married. Sorry. Um,
Let's not forget that.
yeah, so I'm married, but have been for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in April, and that's to my husband Michael, and then our only kid right now is Captain, our dog.
I am not married.
And then one thing that like really kind of I feel like was the root, not the root, books were kind of the root, but one of the reasons that we became so close is that we are both Christians. We love Jesus Christ. And I think it's become increasingly hard to find people that not just the people that like go to church, but people who are really committed to growing their faith. And so that was something we
Well,
connected on pretty early on. We both grew up in Christian families, so it's been a part of our life for a really long time.
yeah, no, I am a pastor's daughter, granddaughter, niece, so it's kind of in my blood. I've seen the good and the bad, and yeah, it's the biggest part of my life. And so I remember like it sounds bad, but back when I like first started my bookstagram, it was like tiptoeing around it to see who else was. And I feel like in recent like months, years, it's become a little more people are sharing openly and things. But I remember I like sent a picture of my water bottle and Hannah was like, oh, is that a cross sticker? She was like, are you a Christian too? And it was like, yes. And that's how it kind of came about. And it was so funny.
I've never had any hesitation about asking people personal stuff like that. So
It's
I just
definitely not something that you struggle with.
hope you weren't trying to hide that because now you're not. Okay, so that's a little bit about kind of background of who we are as people. Maybe we can talk about some like bookish stuff.
We talk about the genres we like, which I feel like we're pretty similar in the genres we read. I was like, my biggest ones are gonna be fantasy, romance, and romantasy. And then I'll do like a little sprinkle of, historical fiction or regular contemporary fiction, but those are like my top three.
I think those are also my top three. I feel like I've been getting in recent months kind of away from reading as much romance, honestly. And I feel like I've been exploring more because I used to read just a lot of romantasy, but I feel like now I'm moving into more like epic fantasy and like sci-fi a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, which is not something that I necessarily thought I would be doing because I used to read like almost 100% historical fiction. Not since starting to like interact with bookish online spaces as much. Like it's pretty much been romance and fantasy. I think I like historical fiction more than you do, but I don't read it very much, which is, I don't know, just for whatever reason.
I think that's like when I read it, I really love it. I just don't gravitate towards picking it up. And then I'll pick one up and I'll be like, why don't I read this more often? I love this.
And I think just in terms of like how we read, I feel like you are really loyal to like specific authors and are more likely to like read their entire backlist, whereas I'm not always, but more likely than you to like go and pick up a random book from the library and be like, guess I'm reading this now because I thought it looked sort of interesting. So I feel like you read a lot more deeply than I do in terms of like specific authors. Like I have very
Mhm.
few authors where I can say I genuinely have read like every book that they have written. And I feel like you can do that for like quite a few, which maybe we can do a whole
Yeah.
episode on that sometime. But
I was like, I know four or five right off the top of my head.
how about favorite tropes? Which I know Bree's classic line, she loves to announce that she likes all tropes. But
I do. I was like, I don't think there's a bad. I think there are tropes that are written badly. I do not think that there are bad tropes.
fair. But tell
Controversial.
us so
I do have favorites.
tell us some of your favorites. I say some because there's no way either of us would be able to pick
Yeah.
a favorite.
I think my like, I think my top three, four, five would be definitely second chance. I'm a sucker for a second chance romance. I love them. And then, controversially, accidental pregnancy. I love an accidental pregnancy. I love a pregnancy epilogue. Anything. I love babies. Bring them. I want them. Next would be single dad. I love a single dad, especially a single dad nanny book. It works for me every single time. And then for like fantasy, I love a good like I don't really think this is a trope, but I'm gonna make it one, like a good like rebellion, like fighting the system. Like I love that. And then fated mates is just gonna hit every single time. Like I feel like fated mates goes like hand in hand with like yearning and yeah, that trope just so good.
You live for the tension.
I do. I love the tension.
I think it's so funny because, okay, so I'll share five also, but I think we only overlap on one of these because
Hmm.
generally speaking, which is so funny, I don't really like Second Chance. Like, I'll read it
Yeah, I
and
knew that you
sometimes it
didn't.
works, but I don't really like it. And I don't know why that is because my marriage is Second Chance. Like, I dated my husband for quite a few years before we broke up, and then we got back together a few years later. And so that's an interesting, I don't know, maybe it hits too close.
You've lived it, so you don't need to read it.
Exactly. Hang on. That's like my favorite candle, and it's starting to get so low that I'm like, I need to get a new one or like preserve it. Okay, so I would say probably one of my all time favorite tropes is one that most people don't like. I have a theory that people actually would like this if it was written better most of the time, and that's love triangles. I love a love
Mm.
triangle. Controversially, I think most of the time, the romances that people are calling love triangles are not, in fact, love triangles. So that's one. I feel like it's kind of basic to say, but like enemies to lovers is a big one for me. But actual,
It's so good.
actual enemies to lovers, again, not like, I feel like there's so many that are like enemies to lovers, and it's really like they have it's really just like strangers to lover. Like there's no actual enemy plotline at
Yeah.
all. So that is frustrating. So actual enemies to
Well, and
lovers,
I feel like
I love.
you can't have. Well, it's not that you can't, but it's hard to have enemies to lovers in like a regular romance book
Hmm.
versus like a fantasy book where you're like, oh, he killed my father and I really hate him, and now we're enemies to love. Versus like, ah, he stole my chair at work.
Hmm.
Like that doesn't really make an enemy. So I
This
feel
is
like it's
true.
harder to do in regular romance.
Yeah. And I do enjoy like arrivals to lovers. Like I think that's still good. It's just not the same as enemies. Fated Mates is the one that we overlap on. I love a Fated Mates story.
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of my favorite tropes are all fantasy related more so than romance, just because like I said, I haven't been reading like a ton of romance, but I also feel like it's less likely that I'll pick up a romance book because of a specific trope. But for actual like just contemporary romance, I really love fake dating. Well, and and Marriage of Convenience. Those are like my two favorites, I would say. And that's really because I have like a deep dislike, not for miscommunication as a whole, but I think you can have a lot of miscommunication without it being, there's like dumb miscommunication and like actual
Uh,
miscommunication. And if it's miscommunication in the sense that like someone's refusing to tell someone else like one thing for a dumb reason, I don't think that makes a good conflict. And so fake dating and Marriage of Convenience, I feel like both set up a lot of tension without there having to be this one thing that's not communicated and therefore everything falls
uh,
apart. So I'd say those are my two favorites. Again, not that I don't know that I would pick up a book specifically because it has fake dating or Marriage of Convenience, but that's definitely something I'm more likely to want to read than like a second chance romance, for example.
no, I think that makes sense. I was like, I knew that you were a big. I think we've talked about how I love Second Chance, and you were like, "Meh."
Yeah, we talked about that with Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, and I think that's why that book hit like so deeply for you. And I was kind of like, it was
Uh-huh.
good, like it was a book. Like I think I still gave it 5 stars, but I don't feel like it like changed me the way that it did for you. So
Yeah, I love that book. Love that book. But I feel like that also goes with like a secondhand trope that I love, which is marriage in trouble, which sounds terrible, but I love a marriage in trouble book. Like you're on the brink of divorce and you realize that you've always loved each other and you come back and you reconcile. So good.
Bree's like, I love it when there's almost a divorce. Looks at me.
I just feel, yeah, I think it all goes back to tension for me. I just love some good, you can stick your teeth into it.
I read that when I was not, I think I wasn't even engaged at that point when I read that book. And I'm just using that as a point
Hmm.
of reference because that's when we talked about it, not like
Hmm.
nothing can change in 2 years. But I feel like now when I read books with marriage in trouble tropes, it's not even that I like them more since getting married. I just feel like they like hurt more. And so sometimes that makes for a good book. And other times I'm like, wow, this is very upsetting to me personally.
Yes,
So, like when I read Homefront by Kristen Hanna, I was a puddle all of the time
devastated.
reading that.
I think that's the book I cried in the most.
Ever?
Like, if of Kristen Hanna's books, I think I cried the most in that one.
Yeah,
Like, I literally was sobbing.
it was a doozy. Okay, let's talk about. Okay, I feel like there's like this trend going around where everybody claims to be a mood reader for everything. Kind of, if you're not a mood reader, we kind of would say that you're like a planned reader. So between the two of those, what are you?
I'm definitely not to hop on a trend, but I'm definitely a mood reader. I try to be planned. I just like Red Rising. You were reading it, and I was like, wow, that sounds really good. Let me abandon my entire TBR and read all of this trilogy in 2 weeks.
And we finished on the same day. When I think you were starting Red Rising when I was starting Morningstar,
Yeah. Well, I have
which
no life and no chill.
I was going to say, to be fair, I was reading extremely slowly and I was reading books in
Mm-mm.
between.
And with your husband.
Yeah, I buddy
You
read
like
with
had to
my,
wait to read it with him.
yeah. And he like mostly listens to audiobooks. So he would listen to the audio while I was like physically following along / also playing games on my iPad or whatever during. But he also listens at 1.5 speed, which I did bump it up to 1.75 and he didn't notice. So we were listening at a faster clip than he thought. I normally am like in the 2.5 to 3x range when I
Yeah.
audiobook, which is not very often these days. We'll talk about that. Okay, so you're a mood reader, but you try to be a planned reader.
Yeah. I try and fail.
I'm definitely more of a planned reader. I think so. Okay, I realized that sounded like my opener of like, there's this trend of being mood readers. I think a lot of people are not actually mood readers. They just think it's like cool to say that they are. I think you actually are. Like, if you want to read a book, you do legitimately abandon whatever you're doing and read that book instead and have like 80 books that you're in the middle of, which is fine for you. I could never. But I think a big part of this is like, I have such a huge goal to like get my physical TBR down.
Yeah.
And it is very high right now. But I feel like I like to plan because, kind of like we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, I really love like the anticipation. Like, that's a really exciting
Hmm.
part of just life in general for me. So if I kind of like know what's coming up, I feel like I get more excited about it than just like picking a book out of nowhere and immediately reading it and being like, great, I read it. Done. You know what I mean? Not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously. And because I'm such a goal oriented person in general, I like to read the books that will like check my goals off. Yeah. So I'd say I'm definitely more planned. Usually I pick like a pretty large TBR at the beginning of the month and then
Hmm.
pick books off of that based on buddy reads, book club. Usually those are the only two arcs.
And I will say I'm like planned when it comes to like arcs because they obviously you have like a set date and things like that. But I've really tried to like not apply to as many arcs and cut down on that so that I'm not as planned because it was bugging me.
And I don't remember if we talked about this while we were recording before, so sorry to everybody if you're listening to me repeat this for the second time. But there was a period where Brie was getting so many arcs from so many different authors that, and I'm just going to put words in your mouth and you can tell me if I'm way off base, but like almost like a year and a half, I feel like, of that, where you were reading like mostly arcs. You kind of got sick of it
Yeah.
and almost went like cold turkey and only started doing arcs from specific authors so that you could focus more on reading what you wanted to read, which makes sense to me, right? Like, if you're burned out on something, obviously you're going to do
Hmm.
the exact opposite to like heal, for lack of a better word, but like reset
Yeah, it was
your brain.
overwhelming.
I was
Literally, I was like,
overwhelmed for you.
there was one month where it was like 20 arcs, and I was like, what is this? Like, and I was like, this is making me hate all the books that I'm reading because I'm just so annoyed. So yeah, I have like three authors now that I get arcs from. One of them, no, two of them I'm like on their team, and the other one I usually just apply and I almost always get it. And so, and they usually like are spread out enough that it's not all in the same month. So
And
it
they're all
works better
books
for
you
me.
would be reading anyway, and you really like
Yeah.
want to read them. I feel like as soon as you get them, versus like, I was excited about this for 5 minutes 6 months ago, and now that it's here, I don't care about it anymore. Like,
Yeah. And they're typically books that like Samantha Young, Catherine Cowles, and Debney Perry are the ones that I'm like talking about. And almost always their books hit for me. Like I think between all of them, I've had like out of the 200 books that they've written collectively, I've had like four books below a 4 star. So like I can tell like, okay, it's almost gonna hit for me every time. So I'm
yeah,
not
that's
as worried
a
about
pretty
saying yes.
staggering statistic. Yeah.
Yeah, they just I'm not saying that you all will think that, but for me, they just really freaking work. I love them.
Okay, scooting along to another kind of bookish category. Thoughts on like digital versus physical versus audio reads? What do you read the
Yeah,
most
just
of?
like
What do you prefer? Give us the details.
I I feel like the same way I am with like my planning what I'm gonna read being my mood. I go through really like waves. And so I usually have one physical, one digital, and one audio going at all times. But then I'll like go through a wave where like I am not touching my physical books at all and I'm just like devouring ebooks. And then I will like switch and like just be devouring physical books. So it honestly just depends on like what's going on, what books I have, and how I'm feeling in the moment. But I tend to have one of each at least at all times. Even if the one is sitting there not being touched, I'm still technically reading it eventually.
What's like your preferred if you just had to read in like one format forever? Not that that would happen, but
Yeah.
for purposes
I
of
think
conversation.
I think physical is my top. Really close with ebook, but I think physical edges it out just because I love holding a book. Like there's just something about it. What
Fair.
about you?
I feel like the reason that I'm hesitating on this is because I think this has changed a little bit for me recently.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to, very similar to you, have like one of each going all the time. And normally the physical book would be typically a fantasy book. Normally my ebook would be the next arc that was coming out because I read all of my arcs on
Mm-hmm.
my Kindle usually. And then I'd have an audiobook going typically. And this is kind of my fault, but for a book that I wasn't as invested in, just to like be going through stuff on my TBR.
Mm-hmm.
I think recently, like November, I didn't read a single audiobook. It was all physical and digital reads. And I think it took me a while to get into audiobooks. Like, I think I didn't even start listening to audiobooks until like 2023, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started listening to tons of them, like all the time. Anytime I was doing anything, I like had an audiobook. But I just candidly, I'm not an auditory learner. Like I'm a big visual person. I like to see things
Mm-hmm.
written out, and I feel like I follow and retain information better when I'm reading it versus when I'm listening to it. And like my very ideal way to read a book is to read the physical book with the audio going so that I'm not like as distracted and can like see everything on page. But anyway, so I've really slowed down on audiobooks just because I feel like I was listening to a lot and using it as a crutch to like listen to books that I didn't actually care about. And I feel like it was largely lowering my enjoyment of reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I also am a big podcast and music person, and the times that I would be like listening to audiobooks would be the time that I had available to also listen to like podcasts or music. And so I've just kind of leaned into like, I would rather be listening to podcasts and music, honestly, and then really enjoying my actual physical reads physically. And I kind of was scared to give up audiobooks, and this is stupid, but because I knew that it would reduce the amount of books that I was able to get through. But I honestly, I had the best quantity wise reading month that I've had all year in November, and I didn't have a single audiobook. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's not like this isn't going to impact my
Yeah.
stats, which don't even matter really, but like in the way that I thought they were going to initially. So there might be a time when I go back to wanting to listen to audiobooks, but right now I'm not really enjoying them, so I haven't really been
Mm-hmm.
reading them.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting because you started listening to audiobooks way before me, because
Mhm.
I've never been a big audiobook person either. And just in the last, like, probably year and a half-ish, I feel like I've picked up more. But I definitely, like, there are certain books that I do not listen to on audiobook unless it's like a re so I try not to do fantasy books on audio because I know I will not pay attention to the world building anything. So,
Oh,
like,
same. It's impossible, especially if you're
yeah,
new to it. Like, I love seeing the map and, like, the names, how things are
yes.
spelled, like
And so now I'm like, I have all of the audiobooks for like Throne of Glass and ACOTAR and Crescent City, but I've read them all like 20 times. So like
mhm.
listening to the audiobook is more of like like if I'm going on a really long road trip or I'm cleaning my entire house, I'll put that on because I know what's happening and it's more like a comfort read. But for the most part, I just do like romance or like temporary fiction when I do audiobooks. And it's ones that I'm like want to read, but I'm never gonna buy. So I was like, I'll just listen to the audiobook and then if I really love it, I'll buy it, but most of the time it's just like, "Oh, this is pretty good," but not, like, amazing.
I'm not saying you do this. I just feel like it's a disservice to the book if I'm listening to it on audio because I don't, like, want to invest the time into reading it physically. Because usually,
Mhm,
again, for me, that means, like, why are you wasting your time on reading this anyway? But I have huge difficulty with, like, getting rid of books, physical books, like, off my shelves that I haven't read yet because 'cause I'm like I get FOMO. I'm like, "What if this is gonna be the book that
mhm.
changes my life?" So far,
Yeah,
hasn't happened, but I'll keep you guys tuned.
maybe
Okay,
one day.
I know. Same lines. Do you prefer hardcover or paperback?
So this is actually, I feel like, changed for me because I've always been a paperback girly, but recently I've been getting a lot more hardbacks, mostly just for the aesthetic. Like I feel like I still like to read paperbacks more, but like when I'm looking at my shelves, I like the hardbacks. So it's practically it's not smart to just buy the hardbacks because I just want them to sit on my shelf. But yeah, I feel like I've been leaning way more into my hardback era in the last couple months than normal.
That makes sense. It's hard. This is like a really difficult this or that just because, like you said, it's for the use, you would prefer different things. And I think I'm similar. Like, if I'm going to sit down to read a book, typically I want a very floppy paperback. That's like the peak
Hmm.
reading experience. Like, I would vastly prefer a hardcover to like a stiff paperback. Like, I just hate the like tactile experience of like having to
Yeah.
crack a book open to like even get into the inner whatever. But I think I am the same. Like, I feel like now I was buying books left and right for like 2 years probably, and that's how my TBR grew to being so big. And I was buying a lot of paperbacks because they were cheaper and because I didn't really care as much about what I was buying versus now that
Hmm.
I'm wanting to like collect and focus on books that I think are really pretty and really meaningful to me and like want to keep on my shelves. Kind of like you said, I think hardcovers are more appealing for the collection aspect. So
Hmm.
it's that's not a good answer. If I had to pick one to like read for the rest of my life, it would be paperback, but I wouldn't like
Yeah.
it.
No, I think I'm the same.
And I've been leaning into
Okay.
library reads a lot more, and almost all of
Yeah.
those are exclusively paperback or hardback. So that makes it like I don't have as much of a choice.
Let's do favorite authors. You go first.
Okay, just off the top of my head, I didn't write notes on this, so I don't have a specific like here's my top 5, but
Hmm.
I really love Sarah J. Maas. I really love Abby Jimenez, Emily Henry. I was going to say I struggle to like say this because we've like just read the books, but Pierce Brown. Um
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of like my other favorite series cuz I feel like I'm much more of a series person than a standalone person. Demi Winters, she wrote The Road of Bones, or is currently writing The Road of Bones series. I should have prepared for this more. I love Adeline Grace. I love Terry Maffey. I love Lee Bardugo. I actually really love Cassandra Clare. I'm still not done with the Shadowhunters universe. That's something I would like to do eventually.
Hmm. Same. Actually, I think I literally texted you about that this morning. It wasn't about finishing the Shadowhunters
You
universe,
said
but
you
it was
want
about how I'm like want to reread the Mortal Instruments. I've been feeling it in my bones, like I need to reread it.
when you say that, do you mean like all of the Shadowhunters books up until now or just the Mortal Instruments?
I mean, I would be open to doing all of them, but definitely Mortal Instruments is like I just need Will and Tessa in my life.
You need what?
Will and Tessa in my life.
They're in Infernal Devices. That's what I
Well, that's
was
what I meant.
asking. I mean, I guess
Man,
they're like tangentially sort of present in spirit in Mortal
yeah,
Instruments.
no, I was literally talking about Clockwork Angel this whole time. I just am out of it. The name of the actual series
Gotcha. Yeah, because
makes more sense now to you, doesn't it?
yes, I could honestly take or leave the Mortal Instruments. Like, there are definitely aspects of it that I really like, but the Infernal Devices is one of my soul series. And so
Yeah,
I
I think.
I've heard that there's a lot of characters that come back because the next two trilogies are like set in between, I believe, Mortal
Hmm.
Instruments, or one's in between and one's after. Point being, there's more characters that show up from the Infernal Devices, like throughout the trilogies that I haven't read. And I didn't know this, but
Hmm.
apparently in the fall, Cassandra Clare's releasing the first book of the final trilogy in the Shadowhunters universe. So I kind of feel like it would be a good year to like catch up. And I've started Lady of Darkness. I think that's the first one in the Dark Artifices trilogy. I've
Hmm.
started it before, but I've never finished it or read it all the way through. And I don't own it. That was from the library, and I'm pretty sure I had to return it to the library, and that's why I stopped. I didn't like DNF it or anything. Anyway,
Hmm.
so maybe that's something we embark on in 2026.
Yeah, I'm down. I own all of them because in law school, a Barnes and Noble next to my house was going out of business, and so all of the books were like 75% off, and they had a whole set. And so I
Nice.
bought all of them. I was like, there's a lot of books.
I have paperbacks of the ones that I've read, but that's it. What are your favorite authors? Or we'll
Obviously,
just say some of
SJM.
them, because I know it won't be like an exhaustive list.
Yeah, I could talk all day. No, I was like, obviously, SJM is at the top of my list. I love her. As you can see, all of my own bedazzled editions behind my shelf. Next would probably be Catherine Cowles. I have read her entire backlist. Love her. Every single book hits for me. Devney Perry, again, read her whole backlist. Love her. Is it Terry Moffey or is it Tahira? I don't know how to say it.
I've heard her say it Terry, but I don't know if that's because it's Taheri and she's just saying it quickly, so it sounds like
Yeah,
Terry. Yeah.
this author. I would say, yeah, Terry Moffey. The Shatter Me series is one of my all-time favorite series. I can literally reread it forever. And I've read her other series, and I really like them just as much. I think she writes Yearning better than anyone. Elle Kennedy's probably up there for me. I love her romance books. Pierce Brown, definitely after reading Red Rising, he's up there. I think that he is a genius. Elsie Silver, Lauren Asher are both up there for me. Those are probably like my tops. Lynette Noni, I love. I've only read the Prison Healer series by her, but I loved it. So, oh, Stephanie Garber, I love her books. I really do.
I
J.R.R.
know one
Tolkien,
that you love that you
C.S.
are.
Lewis.
There it is. I was like, how long is it going to take for her to bring up Tolkien? That long.
I was like, if you know me, I love The Hobbit. My all-time favorite book ever. So yeah, those are probably my faves.
I've read The Hobbit, just it's been a long time and I've never read it as an adult, so I'd be interested to go back at some point. But
It holds up.
I didn't really grow up with Lord of the Rings the way you did, so I feel like it's a different.
I didn't grow up with nerds.
No, I had a lot of friends that love Lord of the Rings, and so it's not even like for lack of exposure. I don't know, I just didn't. But I was kind of like a stubborn kid that way sometimes, like for the same
I can see
reason.
it,
I've never read Twilight or seen the movies, so.
which is crazy. What teenage girl hasn't read Twilight?
Well, I'm no longer a teenage girl, so count me out. Okay. We had TBR style on here. Are you a hoarder or a non-hoarder?
I am definitely a hoarder, and I will not be elaborating on that at this time.
I feel like you have an easier time actually getting rid of TBR books than I do. I think I'm better at getting rid of books I've already read than you are, but I think of the two of us, you're more likely to like take a physical book and decide you don't want to read it and get rid of it.
Yeah, it's
And
a
I
lot
know
easier for
that
me to do,
because I've inherited
especially,
them from you.
yeah. Well, I get sent so many books that are just like PR and stuff too that I'm like, okay, I really will probably never read this, so why should I keep it on my TBR? So that's where half price books gets a lot of money from me.
Whereas I would rather keep it, even if I don't think I care about it, until I read it. And then if I know I don't like it, then I'll get rid of it. But that could be, 8 to 10 business years after it gets sent when it's literally no longer useful to anybody if I have read it. So, favorite characters. This is a hard one. Give us a couple. Maybe we should narrow it down to like characters that you like relate to the most. Because I feel like if we're just talking about favorite characters, it'll be like an endless
I could talk
list.
for days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have 4 characters that I fully relate to. And the first one would be obviously Nesta. That's why if you're watching the video, that's why she's on my shelf right there. I relate to Nesta more than any character I've ever read in my entire life, and I love her. That does not mean that I excuse all the things that she does or say that she's always making the right decisions. I don't make all the right decisions always, so relatable in that. My next character would be Bryce from House of Earth and Blood, and it's hilarious because the 2 characters I relate to most in my life are like Hannah's least favorite characters.
They're not
But
my
she loves
like
me, so it's okay.
least favorite. We could get into this at a different. Keep going, Bryce.
And then next would be Winter Hamilton from Reckless by Elsie Silver. I read her story. I literally bawled my eyes out. I related so much. And the fourth one, there's lots of different characters I would put there, but I think I'm gonna go with Nora from Book Lovers by Emily Henry. The like line where she's like, "I'm a shark," blew my mind because I was like, that's so relatable. And those are my top 4.
Those are the 4 I expected you to say also, which is I guess not that shocking since it's not like I know you or
Yeah.
anything.
If I had to add a fifth, it would be if I had to add a fifth, it would be Rose Calloway Cobalt from the Addicted Calloway Sister series, but I knew you hadn't read that, so I knew you probably wouldn't understand why I relate
No.
to her. But
Yeah.
she's up there too.
I mean, that's okay. I don't have to necessarily like relate, but okay. So you did 4 with like a bonus fifth. I feel like my first one's kind of basic because I feel like there's a lot of people that are either, well, I don't know, maybe it's not basic because I feel like there's a lot of people when they read Akatar that feel like they're either Feyre or Nesta, like one or the other. And
Uh-huh.
so your Nesta, I feel like I very much relate more to Feyre, not for a lot of reasons that like I haven't recently been like abducted by a wolf and like taken to a Fey realm, unfortunately. But I do think personality wise, we're very similar. And I think
Uh-huh.
I'm a very independent person when I have to be, but I don't prefer it. And I think like she needs other people, but if there's like an occasion to rise to, she'll rise to it. And she
Uh-huh.
also has a very tricky family relationship with a lot of people. Nesta being one of those characters, but like not isolated to just Nesta. And I think
Uh-huh.
that's something that I can relate to. So that's one. I would say I don't know that I'm necessarily, again, like her in terms of life experience, would be Lysandra from the Throne of Glass series, which
Uh-huh.
I have never worked in a brothel, spoiler alert, but I feel like she kind of deals with this tension of wanting to know where she comes from and balancing it with who she is now or like who she's grown into and really like longs to have those like really deep close relationships with the people around her but is for a large portion of her life like unable to for whatever reason. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, I say whatever reason to avoid spoilers. There's reasons I relate to that. And I think she also is like loyal to the people she loves to the detriment of herself, which is a theme of a lot of SJM's characters, not just her, but
Uh-huh.
definitely plays a role in her story. And it's funny that you jumped then to Emily Henry because I'm going to do the same thing, but not the same book. Mine would be January from Beach Read. I think
Uh-huh.
we are very kindred spirits. I don't think I've read another book where I felt like I related as much to the character because her life experiences, I have been through some of them as opposed to like in fantasy worlds. And then I would also say Alexis from Part of Your World would be probably my fourth in the sense that I think at her I don't think I know read her book to find out more. But at her core she really just desires a quiet, cozy life with the people she loves, and instead has kind
Uh-huh.
of been put in a position where she feels like she has to achieve in order to not be a value necessarily, but like that achievement is kind of what's looked at as
Uh-huh.
success in her family as opposed to whatever she wants her own happiness to look like. And I can relate to that as well. Not that she even hates her profession. I don't hate my profession, but I don't think, given the option now, that it's something I would choose for myself.
Uh-huh.
And
No,
if
that's
I
definitely who
had,
I would think for you.
and then I don't know what I would say for like a fifth character. I feel like there's so many that I see like pieces of myself in, which is, you know, why anyone wants to read books ever.
Uh-huh.
But if I was going to throw a fifth one out, I would probably say Iris from Divine Rivals.
That's a good one for you.
Oh, thanks. Bree's like war correspondent from World War II ish, sort of. Hannah.
It survives perfectly.
And selfishly, just because she's top of mind, I like want to say Mustang, but I know that's not true. I mean, there's aspects of it that are true, but not like fully. And I would say
Yeah,
almost
I
the
feel
same
like
thing for you
I'm
with Victra.
I was just about to say I feel like I'm more of a bitch. Crazy psycho with a good sense of humor.
Although, like, I don't see you calling everyone darling and like slapping their butts. Like, that would definitely be more of a me thing. But like, generally, personality wise, I feel like Victra is an 8 for sure.
1,000%. Okay, so now we're doing our jobs and education. I am a criminal appeals attorney, and I obviously have an undergrad degree, which was in behavioral science, and then I went to law school, and so I have a law degree.
I have pretty much same education in my undergrad. I double majored in humanities and elementary ed because I originally thought I was going to be a teacher. Then went to law school, and now I am an estate planning attorney. So very different from Bree's job, but we're both
Yes,
attorneys.
very different. Yeah. So we connected over being lawyers, but nothing else. And favorite holidays. Obviously, I'm basic, and my favorite holiday is Christmas, followed very closely by 4th of July because I'm also a pyromaniac.
I agree. Like, I think my favorite holiday is Christmas. Oh, I really like 4th of July also, but I think my second favorite is New Year's. I
I
love New
think for you,
Year's.
definitely.
But if I had to go with a third, it would be 4th of July. And if I had to go with a fourth, like really minor holiday, it would be St. Patrick's Day.
You're like, actually, if I had to go with a 7th and an 8th, let me tell you
Like
what my ninth favorite
listing
holiday.
all 13 federal holidays.
My favorite holiday is any day I don't go to work. Okay, my one of my favorite topics besides reading your favorite Bravo shows. I am a sucker for all things Bravo and reality TV. I think right now my top two shows are Southern Charm. I freaking love Southern Charm so much. And then probably The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City has overtaken The Housewives for me. I am obsessed with those ladies. They are so freaking funny. 10 out of 10.
It's on my list to watch. And you've watched like pretty much every Bravo show at this point, right?
Yeah, I have a problem.
Definitely all of the Housewives ones.
Hmm.
I've definitely watched less than Brie. I like want to make my way into the Housewives world. Right now, I've only seen some of Beverly Hills. Like, I don't even know what we're on. Season
We're like season
6, maybe?
6. Yeah.
I'm watching it from the beginning, so it's taking a while. And I'm caught up on Real Housewives of Orange County. And then, well, one thing that I'm all over that Brie is like kind of wading into is Below Deck. I love Below Deck. It's so messy, but I love it. And I really like Southern Charm as well. I'm not caught up. I think I have a season, or I haven't started watching this current season, and I'm like halfway through the last one, I think. But the vibes of Southern Charm I feel like are immaculate.
Yes. Also love Vanderpump Rules. That's
Which I
just
haven't seen either.
no, and it's like peak entertainment. So good. Okay,
Okay.
travel. This is like
Ooh.
Hannah's bread and butter.
I'm a big travel bug. So I just put on here like next places we want to go, as in like, I don't know, maybe like 3 that are on your bucket list currently.
Yeah, I think for me, I definitely want to go to Europe because I've never been. And on top of that, it'd be like Italy, Ireland, and probably Greece. Ireland and Scotland are like tied. They're together for me. But those are like my top. I've just never been to Europe, so like all of that is unexplored to me.
Do you want to list any others, or you're using that as your
That's
3?
my three.
Okay. I think top of my list would be like Scandinavia somewhere. I really want to see the Northern Lights. So that would be like
Mm.
Norway and or Finland and or Sweden. And
Mm-hmm.
then I really want to go to New Zealand and Australia, like that general region. And I've been quite a few places in Europe, honestly, but one that I haven't been to, or like 2, I guess, I want to do like a Spain and Portugal trip really badly. So those would probably be my top 3 right now. Trips we've been on.
I have gone to Mexico now, I think twice.
You've been to
I
Mexico a
went to
lot.
Tulum for, yeah, I've been to Mexico a lot. I went to Tulum for a wedding and I love Tulum. It was very pretty, but definitely not like if you're wanting a beach, I would not recommend Mexico personally. I feel like the beaches were rocky, but everything else was wonderful. And then we went on a cruise that was very fun, and that went to Mexico. Although we were really on the ship, not in Mexico, but
We set foot
is
on
what
the
it is.
landmass of Mexico for like 2 hours.
Yeah. I think one of my other favorite trips was when I went to, oh my gosh, I just forgot the name. What's the place in Utah where you can hike on the mountains and the rocks?
Moab, Zion,
Mount Zion. Well, yeah, Zion.
Zion National Park, probably.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I've been to Zion National Park and I loved it. I love rock climbing. I'm not very good at it because I'm not coordinated, but I love to do it. And so that was really pretty. And then any beach. I've been to Florida, but I've been to Gulf Shores. I've been to El Salvador. Anything with a beach I like.
My like favorite trips I've been on. I went on a cruise to Alaska this past year for my 1-year anniversary, and I absolutely loved that. That was so fun. I went on a during my senior year of college for spring break. My best friend at the time and I went to Ireland and Scotland, and that was so much fun. And that was the first time I had been to Europe and traveled like internationally by myself. So that was really exciting for that reason. And then in law school, I studied abroad in Austria for like 4 months. And that was really fun. not because, I mean, I liked Austria also, but we kind of bounced around all over the place there. And so my favorite, I think, place that we went to while I was there was Copenhagen in Denmark. Loved it. So it's probably my top 3. I probably should have mentioned my honeymoon too, but we went to some of the same places, so it's wrapped in.
Mhm.
And then for trips that like Brie and I have been on, we probably should have talked about this before, but we met on, because of books, we met on Instagram from our book pages, respectively. And
Uh-huh.
so our first like in-person meetup was in Charleston. It was us and then 2 of our other friends, also from Bookstagram. And I think we were there for like 5 days. Does that sound right?
Yeah, we were there almost a week.
And we stayed at this Airbnb that was like right on the beach it wasn't Isle
Folly
of Palms
Beach.
because that's where we ended up. What was it?
That was Folly Beach. Folly
Yes.
Beach.
Yes. Folly Beach.
Folly Beach.
And so that was super fun. I think I would love to go back to Charleston because we had a very good
Yes.
experience there, but I don't think we went, like, we spent a lot of time at the beach and not as much like in Charleston itself. Some for sure,
And there's
just
so
not.
much to do.
And
Like
I think it's,
we did a walking tour though, that was so cool. Highly recommend the walking tour.
yeah, I think Charleston just as a city is very much our collective vibe. So it was a lot of fun
Yeah.
to be able to
I
figure
would
that
like to
out in real
go.
time.
Yeah, I would definitely like to go now that I've watched all of Southern Charm and be a stalker. I will find them out in the wild.
So for our kind of last major, like large section, we're going to talk about a couple of different like personality types / tests. Cause this is, I think, jointly one of our like favorite niche areas to talk
Interest.
about. So we came up with a couple. Not all of these are going to apply to everyone. Obviously, some of them are from books, which you may or may not have read. But if you have, you'll know what we're talking about. And if you don't, then I'd say these are all pretty much books we would recommend. And then we'll go to actual like personality types. So our first one is Hogwarts houses. So we said we'd share our like main Hogwarts house. And then if we had like a secondary house, what would yours be?
Well, you see, I like to say that my main house is Gryffindor, and I will stand by that because just like Harry Potter himself, who was told he belonged in Slytherin, but he chose not to be, I too choose to be in Gryffindor. But my wing house, my secondary house is definitely Slytherin. It just is what it is.
That's so funny. I think my primary house is Gryffindor, and I think my secondary house would be Ravenclaw.
Uh-huh.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that for you.
I would put your like primary house as Slytherin and secondary is Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, I think. But I understand
know.
your logic.
I'll accept it one day.
And then the
I
next
do
one we
love getting
had,
green.
I actually like think that I might prefer, I don't know. I like red a lot too, but I feel like Slytherin's colors are like some of my favorite just in terms of
Yeah.
like emerald and
I was like,
silver. Like great
yeah,
combo.
red and green are both my top two, so either way it works.
Okay, then we had Fourth Wing quadrants. So this is Fourth Wing is a book. It's part of the Empyrean series. We do recommend it. It's not our favorite. We don't like it as much, I think, as a lot of people like it. But generally
Uh-huh.
speaking, I think it's a good entry point to reading again as an adult, particularly in the romantasy genre. So
Yeah.
anyway, but you're basically given a job in one of these 4 quadrants. So we won't go into a lot of detail about what they are, but you can probably deduce that from their names. They are scribe, writer, infantry, and healer. Which one are you?
I think I would be a rider. I think I would die early, but I think I would be a rider.
I also think you would be a writer. I don't think any of these other categories fit you. I don't know that you're like
Uh-huh.
100% a writer, but I don't know that anyone like 100% fits into any of these.
I agree.
So I think I'd be a scribe.
I do too.
Okay, next one we had was Prythian courts. This from Agatar. Do you want to share what the options are?
Yeah, so there's the seasonal courts, which would be obviously spring, summer, autumn, winter. And then the solar courts, which would be day, night, and dawn, right? I just had a mental breakdown.
I think they go like on the map. It's dawn, day, and then night.
Night. Yeah, okay, I was right. I was like, what's the second D word? It just totally blew my mind there. Sorry. The season or the solar courts. dawn, day, and night.
I think so we thought we would pick each like a seasonal court and then a solar court. I think my seasonal
Mhm.
court would probably be autumn. Not because I actually like the representation of autumn court in the books, but just vibes wise, that's where I would be.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think that definitely fits you. And I think for me, it would be summer or autumn. I feel like I'm pretty much, I feel like fall is my favorite season, but I like to do more activities in the summer.
I feel like you're a summer girl. Like I feel like you enjoy hot weather and hot weather activities more than like most people.
Yeah. I also feel like I just don't really experience fall because I live in Oklahoma. So it goes from being like 80 to being 40.
Yeah, that's a
Not a
good
lot of fall.
point.
But if I had fall, I would love it.
How about your solar court?
I think mine, like, I don't want to be basic and say night, but I feel like I fit in night or dawn the best.
I think I'd be dawn or day, probably dawn. I feel like I mean, this is like a basic reason, but I'm a very big morning person. And I'm like the
Yeah.
person that's like, let's get up at 5 a.m. so we can go see the sunrise.
Yeah.
So,
Could not be me. Maybe I'm not dawn. Maybe I'm just night.
which you said, oh, you're in dawn. I'm going to go somewhere else then. Yeah.
I was like, you started talking about 5 a.m. I was like, I'm out.
I made you get up at like, I want to say like 4:30 when you were over last time.
True. See, this is the thing. I will do it. I wake up at 6 every morning, 5:30 for work. So I'll do it. But I'm definitely more of a evening to night person.
You're like, I'll be there, but
I
you
cannot,
cannot make me like it.
literally.
Next one we have is factions. These are from Divergent, which is kind of a throwback. I had problems listing these last time, so let's see if I get them all. There's Dauntless,
Hmm.
Amity. And
Hmm.
just to give you a quick so that we know for each other, Dauntless is like the brave, fearless people. Amity is like, I think they value peace, is what it is, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Candor, which is honesty. Erudite, did I say that right? Erudite
Hmm.
is the
I think so.
intelligence. And then this is the one I forgot last time too. What is it?
Abnegation,
Yes, and that's selflessness.
selfless.
Okay, so out of those, primary and secondary.
Oh, I'm definitely candor first.
I agree with
And
that for
then
you.
I think maybe Dauntless would be my second or Erudite. One of
Yeah,
those.
I could see either of those for you
Not to
for
call
your
myself,
secondary.
not to just call myself smart, but
I think my primary would be Amity,
uh
and I think my secondary would probably be Erudite, but it could also be
yeah,
Abnegation, maybe, but I think more Erudite.
yeah. I think you fit into all three, but definitely Amity and Erudite are top for you, in my opinion. I'm like how I'm like I like to honestly blow things up, and then Hannah comes in as the peaceful creator,
Middle kid.
smooth
See, it
over the
comes out in
mess.
weird ways. Next, we had districts, which I don't think we're going to go. These are from Hunger Games. I don't think we're going to go through and list like every single district
Yeah,
because
there's a
that
lot.
feels like a lot of work. But if you had to pick like one based on their exports, what would you pick? Put District 7, which is lumber and paper goods. And I said that basically just because I'm very like tactile, paper loving person. Like I love journals, I love crafts, I love making a good physical checklist. So it's not that necessarily that I'm like woodworking, carving things. But if I had to pick one, it would probably be District 7.
Yes,
How about you?
and if I had to pick a district, it would be District 13 because they are nuclear weapons. And the person with the nukes is the person in charge.
Okay. So,
And that's all we gotta say about it.
wow. Okay. So then we had
And
kind
you
of,
know it fits.
it does actually. Yeah. Yeah. And I think just counter government is kind of up your alley. So there's that.
Yeah.
Okay, we had the disc assessment on here. This is supposed to be like your work style more than anything else. So D is like dominant. I think I is in I forget what they stand for. Maybe I should look this up so we're not just spewing.
D is for something.
So Oh, there we go. So D is dominance, I is influence, C is conscientiousness, and S is steadiness. So usually you have like a main one and a secondary is my understanding.
Hmm.
What are you?
I am definitely a D is my dominant one. And I honestly don't remember what my second one was. I think it might have been S,
I think you might
but
be
I don't
more of a
remember.
C. That's I feel like they're very like detail oriented, like
Yeah, that would
making
definitely fit up
sure.
my alley.
I'm a
But I
very
know
high.
D was like overwhelming.
Yeah, that's like the big like leader types, which I feel like fits. My I is highest, which is like influence, interpersonal connections,
Yeah,
and then S is my secondary, which is
which
like the
fits 100%.
support, sort of like counselorish role. Okay. I put zodiac types on here just because I think people like to know, but I think collectively we basically think this is bogus and that they don't fit us at all. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm a Libra. I was
Do you
like,
know
I'm
what
a
your like
Libra, and that
rising
is
sign is?
no. I also
Okay.
think zodiacs are a little nuts, so I don't know anything about them
The
besides that
what?
I am. I was like, I don't know anything about them besides that I am technically a Libra.
Cool. I think Libras are supposed to be the very like balanced peacemaking people because the sign is like the scales or something. Like that's the constellation, which
Well, the first thing
I
people
would
say about
never
me is
accuse you
what
of
a
being that.
balanced peacemaker. That's their first thought. Wow, what a balanced individual. She's so good at keeping the peace.
Bree from District 13 is our peacemaker. The war's been lost. Yeah. My zodiac sign is Capricorn, which I don't feel like fits me at all. They seem to be, I feel like, usually described as like the very single minded, hardworking, like people at the expense of like all other relationships in life, which I don't think fits me at all.
Uh-uh.
Bree's like, yeah, she's not
No.
hardworking. Don't ever let her think that. Okay. And then we've got Myers Briggs. These are the personality types that I think are supposed to be more geared towards like your behavior, but there's 4 different categories. So do you
Uh-huh.
know yours like off the top?
Yeah, I am an ENFJ.
Which means extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judgmental.
I think so, yes.
Not judgmental, like, I mean, you are judgmental, but like the category is supposed to be
Like
like
the boot fits.
whether you kind of respond to the world by like judging what you see or perceiving what you don't see is what
Yeah.
I understand. Okay. Um I am an ESFP, which is extroversion sensing, which I think that's supposed to be the like how you like to take in information. Versus so sensing is like with your 5 senses versus N, which is what you are, is intuition. So that's more on like the vibes, for lack
Yeah,
of a
my
better
gut.
word. Yeah, like I would say, yeah, you trust your judgment and your own gut more than what is happening around you.
Uh-huh.
And then F or T is basically whether you make decisions based off your feelings or logic. I leaned feelings. Is that what you said too? Okay. And then
It's
I'm
just probably a different feeling than what you make yours off.
and then I'm P and you're J, and that's judgment versus perceiving. Yeah. So two the same,
Fits pretty
two
well.
different.
Hmm.
Okay. And the last one we have on here, I would say is like largely our favorite one in the sense that I feel like we actually both relate to the types that we have. Um,
Uh-huh.
and Enneagrams are supposed to be based less on personality and more on internal motivation.
Motivate.
So there's 9 types. Everyone has a man type and a wing, which is one of the other numbers next to you. So take it away.
I am an Enneagram 8, wing 7. And basically, Enneagram 8s are like their core fear is to be controlled or to like lose their power. And their core motivation is protecting themselves and others and gaining that power. And yeah, relate hardcore to that. And then my wing is 7, which is more about just like enjoying being with people and planning and doing things. And I almost said partying, which can be a 7 thing, but it's not always. But yeah, just like the other one would be a 9, which is a peacemaker, which I feel like in my older age, I've leaned more into my 9 wing. than I did in my 20s, which I still am not leading a lot. So that just tells you where I was in my early 20s.
I was gonna say Bree's also still in her 20s, so we'll keep you posted on when the 9 comes out. I am an Enneagram 7, wing at 8, which we laugh about this because we're the like inverted types of each other. But the
Uh-huh.
7's core desire is to be content. So a lot of times this looks like chasing, I would say, very like superficial things because type 7s are essentially worried that they're never going to be satisfied or happy. And so I've kind of even touched on this in this conversation, like the anticipation or the next best thing. It's like they're constantly on a quest to like feel content in whatever way that looks to them. And I think for me, that comes out in my love of travel. I want to read all of the books. I want to see friends and family all the time, but I don't physically have the like bandwidth to be able to maintain that always. Technically, you can like regress into a different number, but my regressions usually look like migraines. And then, yeah, my wing 8, I would either be a wing 6 or a wing 8. And I think I honestly do have a little bit of both, but wing 6s are more seeking like security, whereas 8s are, like Brie talked about, seeking control, power, stability, honestly, I feel like. And so
Hmm.
I feel like I lean more towards wing 8 than 6. But
Yeah, I definitely think too it explains like the way we go about things and what we value because I definitely value like trust and loyalty are like my top two things. And I will sacrifice other things to make sure I have people like I trust and people that I think are loyal versus like large groups of like people and gatherings, which I feel like you
Mhm.
thrive in way more than I do.
Yeah. And I think I get different things from every single relationship, whether that's like my husband, my family, like different friends, whereas you like at your core seek to have like a very tight, close-knit group.
Hmm.
And I don't think there's anything like wrong either way. It's just a different approach to us managing our own relationships. So all right. So, and given that we have just yapped your ears off, I don't know how long this is going to end up being, but we've been talking for like an hour and a half at this point. I think we're just going to skip our closing activity, but we will have another one next week. So come back.
We'll see you guys soon. Oh, yeah. And before you go, just a reminder that our book club is coming up. I actually think our book club is next week, where we will be discussing all the things about it. So don't forget to be reading The Rose Bargain. I am almost done with it, and I am so excited to talk about it with you guys.
We will see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. That's it for today's episode of Chapter Chats. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Chapter Chats Pod.
And you can find me, Bree, at Brazen and Bookish on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
And you can find me, Hannah, at Bookshelvish on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Substack.
Or you can email us at chapterchatspod@gmail.com with book recommendations, episode ideas, or just to say hi.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, follow, and subscribe on your favorite platform.
Catch you next chapter.